Thanks very much, Christine, for that welcome. Thanks to the organisers of the conference, having a great time here. The booth's been really well attended, so that's been fantastic. Certainly exceeded my expectations, and thanks everyone for turning up to listen and hear a little bit about the Caldera project and why we think it's special, and to impart with you some of our plans going forward. It really is on a rocket. It is a world-class asset, as we've noted before. It's getting a lot of interest, and it's certainly a project that we can get into production fast, and that's really what we're all about. So the engineering packages and everything that are progressing in that space are lending towards that. Just the disclaimer, the standard health warnings there. You can read them at your own leisure. Okay, a little bit about the company. We've been trading reasonably stable for the past 5 or 6 months. More recently, though, some downward pressure, and that's we've really been caught up in that off-risk approach in that critical mineral space, much as we've seen in the nickel play space, the lithium space, rare earth elements, any of those sorts of projects are absolutely feeling that pinch as well at the moment. So that's put a little bit of downward pressure on our share price more recently, but they're not the only reasons. There's also been a lot of pressure in the rare earth industry with regards to pricing, and China recently, and in fact as late as last week, announcing an increase to their refining quotas, certainly is going to keep neodymium and praseodymium in its place for some time yet. Those two elements are really the drivers in most people's baskets, and I really don't see too much upside in the rare earth pricing space in the next short while. So that is a problem for a lot of projects, but for this particular project, not so much of a problem, and I'll share that with you a little bit later on in the presentation. In our treasury, around $32 million. Most of you are aware of the board of directors, especially Dr. Andrew Tunks, our chairman. He's very well known in the industry. In Brazil, we have Dr. Marcelo de Carvalhais. He's also our government relations officer over there. He does a fantastic job in that space, and I'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. Dr. Paul Kiddo, and more recently, and of great interest to most of you, will be the appointment of Mr. Peter Gundy, the only doctor not on the board. Mr. Peter Gundy, he's a bit of a Trojan in the industry. He was the guy who set up Neo Performance Materials. He has an intimate understanding of the mid and downstream operating space and that connection into the OEMs. He set up facilities throughout China. He has also was instrumental in the purchase of the Estonia facility, Silmet, and what's going on there. He has stepped out of that business, but is still very much involved in that space, and it's great having his perspective on the board to take this forward. Just some investment highlights. There's quite a few there, but and I think Christine mentioned it a little earlier on. It's a globally significant, as yet inferred resource, but we are doing quite a bit of space in the drilling area. We're focusing on our near mine opportunities with infill drilling and increasing the confidence in those resources. So bringing predominantly indicated resources to market, so there'll be additional tonnes, potentially some shift in the grades, unlocking the very high value dysprosium and terbium values that we are chasing to bring into our basket near term, but a lot happening in that space. So currently we're sitting on 409 million tonnes, around 2,600 ppm. That's a really great number. But inside that, and of more interest to me, and there's a slide that demonstrates it beautifully a little further on, is a very high grade portion of around 120 million tonnes at plus 4,000 ppm. Now this is really exciting to me in the mine planning space, and it's something we're absolutely focusing on in our near mine production and our story going forward. We've spoken a little bit about grade, but that translates to a fantastic basket. Now this work was undertaken by JOGMEC back in 2019. The recovered basket to the carbonate is around 31% NdPr and about 1% DyTb. Great NdPr number. We'd love to see a little bit more dysprosium and terbium in our basket, and we're certainly going to be chasing that in our schedule going forward. The metallurgical recoveries from the previous work and with the ANSTO work going forward are another very strong component of this story. The ANSTO test work, you would have seen the announcement recently on the recoveries to the leach phase. That's only half the story. That gets your ionically absorbed rare earth elements into solution. The next stage is impurity removal and then precipitation down to a carbonate. Now we've just done some work around the precipitation to the carbonate. story. We can't release those numbers yet, but that's certainly looking very good. So we're looking forward to bringing that to market very soon. So that whole process right through to the carbonate story, our saleable product, looking very good. We also have significant land holdings within the Caldera. It's around 193 square kilometres, and there's about 63 or 69 tenements that make up that package. So essentially we've got a resource that sits on around 10% of that. So we've got an awful lot of optionality going forward, and a lot of work to do in the exploration space too, to see what we can find. Predominantly with the dysprosium and terbium, it's really that sort of story we're really going to start focusing on. We know we've got plenty of neodymium and praseodymium, which is a main driver in our basket. 31% of NdPr equates to around 84% of the value of our basket. 1% of DyTb is around 14% of the value of the basket. So you can really see that gearing that goes towards dysprosium and terbium. We've got a very strong leadership team. I have around 5 years' experience in the rare earth industry, but more importantly, our metallurgist, Tony Hadley, he's been around since the Linus days, so he's been instrumental in taking this work forward and sculpting that flow sheet, working very closely with ANSTO in that space. We have strong development support in Brazil as well. And this is really important. We're seeing that at the local level, at the council level, we're seeing that at the state level, we're seeing that at the federal level, and at the community support we're getting as well. Alcoa have been operating in the Caldera for the last 70 years, and they've done a sensational job in that community relations space, and we are following a very well-trodden path with those guys. We can't thank them enough for the work that they've done. Mining in the Caldera and in Brazil itself is not a dirty word, and Brazil is very much open for business in the mining space. And I can't thank Alcoa enough for that going forward. And I've spoken a little bit about the rapid path to development. We've got our ears pinned back, we're going as hard as we possibly can, and there's some permitting opportunities there which I'll talk about a little bit further on. Just very quickly, some differences in the hard rock to the ionic clay space. A lot of you probably know this, but it really centres around the cost of capital and the operating cost to run these things. Mother Nature's done most of that work for us. We don't have any robust minerals that we're chasing in a standard AMSAL wash process flow sheet. We're not interested in any of the relict or primary minerals that are still in the clays. We're going to leave those behind. We've got more than enough in that ionic adsorbed space for us to chase. And that is a low-cost option. We don't need to crush and grind. We don't need to drill and blast. We don't need to produce a concentrate. All those pieces of the flow sheet that you see in the hard rock space just don't exist. We go essentially from a clay, which we slurry, we screen out the larger cobbles, we hit it with ammonium sulphate, and then we end up with a pregnant solution, which we then precipitate down into a carbonate. Now that is the difference. Very simple flow sheet, very simple costs, and that is why, even at today's depressed prices, we certainly have significant headspace in our operating costs, and it's a project that could come to market and get financed right now, even under these very tough conditions that we're seeing. Being robust in this market is paramount. You really want to be able to survive these tough times in the rare earth industry, and this project is absolutely placed to be able to do that. The graph you can see there is bubbles representing NdPr content in our TREO. So as you can see, and this is one of the things that I really struggled with when I first was asked to join the group. My understanding of clay projects was really to the left, where you can see that yellow band. That's where most clay projects sit. They sit in that space, somewhere between 750 and 1200 ppm. The fact that this thing was very much over on the right-hand side at 2,600 ppm was a real anomaly, and very hard for me to get my head around. So there was quite a bit of personal due diligence that I undertook before I came on board, and quite a bit of convincing. But it does get better. And this is the story that I was talking about before, this high-grade portion that we're focusing on for our near-mine development. As you can see, it's over 4,000 ppm, over 100 million tonnes of this material which is available, which will be coming into the mine schedule very early on, and getting some extra DY and TB into that basket mix is paramount for us. So that work is being done by some of the exploration work you're seeing off our resource licences. Some of that, and a lot of that work has also been done within the resource licences that we have, the 6 licences which make up the 409 million tonnes. We're looking for those, unlocking those opportunities with that further drilling we're doing at the moment. And why is it so good? This was a bit of an enigma for quite some time, but really I think it comes down to the geographical constraints we see at the Caldera. It's a closed environment. And this is unusual. Most rare earth deposits probably have several ways or means of material or molecules escaping that environment. This is a closed environment. There's one small stream system which exits the caldera. And because of that ongoing enrichment and that inability for those molecules to escape during that enrichment process, we're seeing these very high grades. So that is what makes this project certainly different from most ionic clay projects, and is why we're seeing these fantastic grades. A bit of a map showing our licences. They are extensive. 69 licences, 28 mining licences currently, and 27 mining licence applications. So you can see there's an awful lot of work to do in that in the exploration space to sift through this opportunity. As I said before, less than 10% of these licences make up our 409 million tonnes. So the opportunity and the ability to grow this resource is enormous. We don't need all those tonnes coming forward, of course, but we certainly do want to see more DYTB coming through. I keep talking about DYTB, it's very important in our basket. One of the reasons we like Brazil as well is it's a mature mining jurisdiction. In Minas Gerais itself, there's over 8,000 licensed mining operations, so we sit very comfortably there. Alcoa are operating on the left-hand side of the caldera. We have another group called Currumbaba on the right-hand side. So between the two of them, around 70 years of mining operations within the caldera, and that bodes very well. It is a brownfields mining area and it has immense community support. This relates, there's a lot of numbers on this page, but this relates to some of the off-licence exploration that's been undertaken recently and some of the results that went out the other week. There are, all those numbers are incredibly high. They're all incredibly exciting, but really for me it's that DYTB story that sits amongst them, which requires further follow-up work, so further metallurgical test work and further drilling to bring that story forward for us and get that stuff into the schedule. But I guess what we're trying to do here is demonstrate the enormous opportunities that we have both in the south and the very north of the caldera, and how that translates to near-term success for our mining schedule going forward. And we've spoken about the resource already, so 409 million tonnes at 2,600 ppm. Some of the more recent metallurgical test work. Again, these numbers on the right-hand side, they don't translate to a recovery to the basket, so this is a work in progress still, but nonetheless, what it does demonstrate is that this is with a standard ammonium sulphate wash, so there's no low pH environments here, no heat. What we are seeing is extremely high recoveries to that leach. This is ionic, and that is, most of the heavy lifting is done in that very early space there, and bodes well for work going forward. Okay, very quickly, I'm running out of time here. The Capo de Mel area is the focus for our engineering studies. We have a great relationship with Ausenco. You can see the 3 southern licences there which we are looking at. They are absolutely the focus for us going forward with our environmental test work, our environmental permitting, our metallurgical test work and our engineering studies. You can see in the fainter lines as well that continuity we have with those additional licences. The ability to grow this resource and extend in all directions is immense, so it's a real plus for us. But Capo de Mel is the focus for us in the near term. We're working very closely with ANSTO, Ausenco and ALGA, our environmental consultants, to bring this forward as quickly as possible. The flow sheet. It's a very simple flow sheet, as I said before, and this is really why we have such a low operating cost. The other important thing to notice here is that this entire process facility is going to be operated from 100% hydro. Brazil is quite unique in that space. About 92-94% of the entire grid is powered by hydro, and 100% of the grid within the caldera itself is powered by hydro. So we'll be making the best opportunity we can of electrifying everything we possibly can in that space. The government collaboration. This is an important guy you can see down on the bottom photo, Governor Zima. He is touted to be the next Brazilian president, and this is him at our signing ceremony that we had in Poços de Caldas quite recently. So the support from the state government of Minas Gerais and Invest Minas is immense. And ongoing forward. I know we're short of time. I'm going to go skip straight to the schedule. I can feel your eyes staring through me at the moment, Chrissy. Look, I just really want to talk quickly about this. The red diamond you can see in the bottom right-hand side is this opportunity that we have. We have an amazing opportunity to have this thing permitted for construction by the end of next year, and that is something that we're absolutely got our ears pinned back for. All our engineering, our met test work is absolutely pushing forward to this, and we are committed to making that date. Thank you very much, Christine. Thanks, everyone.